And we are live. Hello everyone, welcome to today's stream, where I finally figured out how to make the hair physics work. This has been several days in the making, so I'm very happy that I finally got it done. And the way I was able to make it work is loops, but not actual loops because we don't have those properly in Blender for the time being. So I'm using the substitute of copying one node group 100 times, and then having that be the physics. So here, as we can see, the hair has physics applied to it. It is moving around as you would expect. And I've been playing around with it, different methods of making it work, changing the gravity and such. In this case, the gravity goes up, then down, just to test the parts of it. I have not been able to get collision. Well, I haven't implemented proper collision just yet, but I do want to showcase what it looks like with gravity, or with zero gravity. There we go. This hair is from one of the demos from the Blender website. It was to showcase the new hair tools in Blender 3.6. So the first thing that I did was take out basically all of that and just leave the default hair curves without any of the geometry nodes on top because it was way too laggy, way too slow. And then I was just left with this. I converted it to a mesh so that I can have it on an object and then do the hair simulation, but this will work on any curve object. I just have something to transfer it to curves, change like how many points are in there and all of that. And then that's the object there, and then the physics are applied after. With the physics, it can go to a chain length of 100, since I have 100 of the nodes packed into here. Here's one of the chain lengths. That's the internals for it. Not that bad. Actually, that part is not needed. It's not terrible, but not great. It would be nice if we had proper loops, then I could make the physics accurate per point. But at the moment, I am evaluating, or I'm basically simulating the first part on the hair strand, then the second part, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth, then the sixth, all the way down to 100. I could make it 200 or even however many I want. I just need to keep copying this. But it does slow down rather quickly, so I would not recommend doing that. But here's an example with zero gravity. Again, I haven't implemented the hair collisions. It actually looks like gravity is still implemented. Here, let me take this part out. So here's it without any, special bells and whistles. Just that part into there. That's the transform for moving the head around and applying that to there. We need less gravity. Or less... I still have, like, the original kind of go towards your original shape mechanic inside the node group, which I wish I didn't have to do. But for the time being, this is the best that we have. Let me turn up dampening so it looks like, ooh, either underwater or 0G. Actually, I think hair has more kept velocity than that underwater. So there we go. It's just like that, then that, then that. Yeah, so for each point, maybe I should showcase... Yeah, no, you could do like the hair whip thing, which I was so happy about, because I had a previous version of the hair, but it would not take its position movement into account. It would only take its, like, orientation change, its rotation change. But this can use movement as well. Actually, what if I made the length twice as long? Here, I'm going to multiply the chain length. I'll go into a bit more detail on how this works a bit later. There we go. So let's make the hair. Wow, that is quite the 80s hairdo. But just to showcase that. It's fun to play around with. Once you get the physics working, it just works so well. So again, collisions for the head are still a work in progress. Yeah. Which I should implement. It'll be a bit difficult to figure that out to make it work properly, but I have a few tricks up my sleeve that I think I can get working. So should I go over how I made this with a simpler file? One that's just the bare bones effect. The bare bones stuff. Or I could just go into making like head collision right now. Because it's so fun to play around with. This can work on multiple hairstyles, any type of... Like I could change this hair live. So let me go and move... Oh, that is a lot of polygons right there. So I can move this around like that. So now if I move it around, it'll try to form back into the shape that I gave it. Which could be good for styling. So, yes, I was able to make hair physics for all the hair stuff with geometry nodes. It's so nice. Quite funny as well. So without it, if we just look at the... Well, it's a bit hard to see the wig part. So let's look at a meshed version. Oh, I need to move around the... Where's the head? Let me unhide the head. So I do have a meshed version, but that doesn't look that great because, you know, I didn't make a proper shader for it, but just to show that it will work with stuff like that. Let me change it back to this. So with noise, oh wow. Yeah, that's rather funny. I do want to try adding in the collisions. Let's see. Yeah, let me showcase the my original physics tests, because as soon as I got that working, I was like, yes! So here's the physics test again. We can see the pendulum from the other stream and everything else. But the main thing was, oh, how do we get a pendulum working in with geometry nodes? So the main crux of it is... Let's see. Yep, here it is. So we need a parent position. That's like the first order of business. Don't worry about the position old. That'll come into play later. We store the position of the parent. And then we set the velocity for all of that, the particle moving around. And then we add the velocity, as you would do normally, to the position. But then we compare that to the position of the parent. Basically getting the local offset from the parent to the particle. Then we normalize that, then we set the length. In my case, I would take the length of the vectors of the hair and then plug them in right here. Then we add that back local to the parents, and then we calculate the new velocity. This is the crux of it. We calculate the new velocity compared to the old position, which is stored over here per frame. So it stores the position first, does everything, compares that to the new position to get accurate velocity, which means that if, say, it like spins around, which I think I implemented, like that, because normally the velocity will just have it go in that straight line, but since it's taking the new one, it's saying, oh, okay, so instead of going down like that, I moved sideways, so that'll go like that next, and that next, so perfectly making it work. So yeah, that's the basics of making the pendulum work. And this is taking the distance to the empty right here. I should explain that. So I also made a version that's aligned, but that's a little bit different, not quite as good, a little more confusing. So that's the method that you want to implement just pendulum physics. So the next thing is, well, let's make a ton of pendulums, because that's what hair is. So with this next one, let me hide everything else besides this. I basically did the pendulum physics. Let's see. I'm just double checking. Oh, I could simplify a little bit of this. Well, here I store the moving position and then I apply that to the start point. That's like the big change from this to the other. Oops. And I need to flip this around, because otherwise you get a little hair poop on the first frame, which we do not want. I could place that second in the line. So that's to store the velocity, but it needs to be before all the other operations so that no hair poofing happens on the first frame. So we do the velocity thing, as you would expect. That's where you would put like all the collisions in. And then instead of one chain, like we have here, we do a ton of chains, which is why I have this in here. Now this is where Blender's loops would come into play if we had them. So in the future, this will be much easier to do. It would just be one node that we say, hey, operate 100 times, or once for every single particle in the stack. But alas, we do not have that. So this is what we have to do. So it's just this node copied a ton of times, which says, hey, here's the index that we're trying to operate on. And then that we do that, that works out. And then every time an iteration happens, it goes one down the length of the chain, in quotes. So that's what happens, and then we do the velocity calculation again, just to make sure. There we go. Let me move this part back a little bit because, you know, just to keep the actual physics part separate. And I also, again, I store the vectors beforehand. One, to get the length in between all of them, right here, the length between the vectors, and also so that I can return it to the original shape, which gives like the springiness, but it still keeps a little bit of its original shape. So here, the original shape is this kind of S-curve, just to test that constraint. So we can see that does that, it has the springiness and everything. But then if I crank it up to like 0.8, it's a lot stiffer, not that great. And then if I set to 0.1, we can see the gravity takes advantage of it, and it has much more effect of it. But we still get that kind of chain wibbly-wobbly stuff happening. And then if we set to 0, it'll just act like a strand of hair. So right now, it seems to be a little overactive, if I'm being honest. So one thing I did do was blur the velocity once, which gives a kind of better result, just so that it doesn't act in isolation for each particle. So you may want that, you may not. It's really up to you. So let me change this to like 0.4 or so. That has like, a proper kind of jelly aspect to it. But here we can have a lot of these running at the same time. As we can see, they all have the physics applied, and they can be any shape we want. So that's how you do hair physics. Again, not the best because we don't have proper loops, but it's the best we've got. So it's good that I finally got it working. Actually, I want to see how it works with like a circle. Ah, okay, yep. So if it's enclosed, it doesn't know how to properly react, which is pretty funny if you ask me. I do want to try this out on different meshes, so like maybe a tree branch, because in theory that could work. I would just need a different setup for it. So I may try that in a little bit. It's also interesting how... Oh wait, yeah, that's because that... Let's set them D to 0, 0, because that was a little confusing for me. Let's go and delete both that and that. There we go. So at 0, 0... I thought I put you at 0, 0. Ah, there we go. Why is it not keyframing? Did I accidentally lock the animation? Oh, no, that's because I put like a noise modifier onto there. But yes. There's the physics. So, would you all be okay with me making a tree branch in this file rather than looking at the proper, hair system that I made, the one with the actual human hair on it? I do want to try that. I'll go back and showcase the hair file for the people that who are currently here, who joined in later, but then I do want to try making a proper kind of tree with the proper physics, because right now, this will have, a little bit of a problem with other things happening. It does look cool, but I want, the proper chain happening, which should be fairly easy to implement if I have my math correct. So I'll go and save that. Now let's open the human hair version of it. This one's a bit more complicated because I added in like the gravity switcher. That's like most of the nodes here. So I could just keyframe that, but again, a little bit on the lazy side today, which actually would be easier to keyframe it. So maybe I'll chop that out just to make this a lot easier on myself. So just gravity, and I can take that part out. I could add in like noise and all of that to make it better. But there's the gravity. Now the gravity is actually extremely low at the moment, because the force making the hair want to go back to its original location. Whoops, let me take out the keyframes for this. The force making it want to go to its original location is very strong at the moment. So if I go and turn that down to 0.1, we can see that the... Well, what was that? Looks like I did a little oopsie, where something got a little bit messed up. Yeah, why did that do that? I don't know why I would do a little hair loop. Well, that's a little bit broken, but I'm not going to worry about that. It's only on the first frame. Is that on only the first frame? Let's see. Are there keyframes anywhere else? Like, what? Why would it do the little hair flip? That wasn't there before. Maybe I should reopen the file and take a look at it. But we can see there's the gravity and all that. A little low. So let's switch it to 0 gravity and see what else happens. So yes, very nice floaty hair. With proper physics. It's so nice. So now that I finally got it working, it's like, oh, what do I do now? Besides, you know, fix the hair whip effect. I really do not know why that is happening, so let me go and open the file again in case I wrecked anything. So here there's no hair flip. Huh. What'd I mess up? Clamp factor. Yeah, see, no issues there. I probably deleted a node accidentally. There we go. So there's the hair. Let me get rid of all the unnecessary nodes. Just keep the gravity, and I'll keyframe the gravity if I want to make it change. There we go. So, boom. Let's move that over. So, yeah. Oh, wait, there's still gravity. So, unfortunately, the poofiness of the hair goes away when we do this kind of, like, semi-zero gravity mode. So if I were to change it so that there is no springiness to the hair, which I do want to bring that outside of the node group, you can see that it just kind of gets stuck where it was. It has no, like, internal stiffness to it. We set that to, like, 0.9. And since I'm moving this object live, it does seem like the physics are a little less stable. Quite the hairdo right there. So let's set this to 0.1 so that it does have some... Oh, maybe I should go back to my original length in position. Well, the length is always consistent. So there we go. There's some hair that, since I turned off the dampening, it really likes to just keep flying like that. So I want to try a few things. Number one, I want to try getting head collision working. So for that, I was going to try several methods, but I think I will try the raycast method, because that may be the best version for making it so that it doesn't clip into the head like that. So I may try that, and for that I'll just make a little animation where it goes over here, so boom, then it'll go back a few frames later. Here we go, so boom, and then boom. And the springiness is just a tad under what I want it to be for this test. There we go. It's still a little lofty, a little floaty. That's not bad. And I can change the springiness based on what part of the curve parameter it is on. So spline parameter, like how far it is along the curve. So here I can make it so that the tops are super floaty, but the ends are the total opposite. So let me go and switch this around so that the ends are completely floaty, but the top is mostly not. So I can set this to like 0.05. I could change this to be, you know, just so that the base of it, yeah, so we still have that kind of zero gravity look, but the, you know, the top part of the hair is still, yeah, there we go. So it just kind of stays in place. Still not the greatest fan. Well, the dampening is something that I need to get right. Quite the hairdo once again. Okay, so collisions. That's what I was going to do. I keep getting distracted by the physics system because it actually works, and I'm so excited about that. So I'm going to... Let's bring in the head object. Yeah, let's switch this out for the head. I'm going to use a raycast instead of a geometry proximity node because that did not work too well. Okay, so let's bring this. Let's just let the animation play in the background. Okay, let's use a raycast node. I may need to make another version of the mesh that is decimated so that this does not lag. But the source position, I think, will be the current position. And if it hits, we do the switch between its current velocity and then the reflected velocity. And it reflects from there, and that should be fine, so that it will bounce off if it hits. So if we do that, we should see the performance absolutely tank. Oh, it's not tanking. But the ray direction and the ray length both need to be switched up a little bit. Let me go and do this just so that's a bit more in line with everything else. Let's get the length, plug that into here, and then the ray direction we can just directly plug into there. So that should be good ray casting. What's my frame rate doing? Oh, this needs to be 30 frames per second. Sorry, everyone. So, does it still go inside the mesh? It looks like it's trying to stay outside of it, having just a few issues. Wait, is it? I really cannot tell. So I would expect, you know, a little bit of clipping to still happen. Like with the movement of the head. As we can see, it can still very much teleport, which is a shame. Like, how do I make it so that when the head moves... Like, no, even when the head's staying still, it isn't working. So if it hits, then it should reflect. If I am correct. Source position should be fine. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I think I might know why. Because the chain... Oh... So that may be... May need to do this calculation inside the node group for it to be fully accurate. Which will be extremely annoying. But I do want to test that. So if we plug in that into there. Oh no, I was worried about that as well. Just the, oh, wait, you wanted to do the collision for every single particle? Well, that'll cost you all of your frame rate. Is it working at all? It still is not. Okay, so that's good. Because that means I can just fix it outside of... Whoa. Oh, right. Velocity. Raycast should be working. I don't want to get hung up on the math. Because that's not a lot of fun. Let's put in a cube collider. Just so that, like, when it returns, we can see if it actually collides. Because it seems a little too performant. So, yeah, we can see that it's just straight up passing right through it with absolutely no regard for own position. Position, and then what if we were to add that into there? Or I could do it like that. Does it even look like it's trying to work? Well, it looks like it's getting, like, a little bit hung up. Let's make it so that it freezes if it hits. Or maybe we just scale down the velocity by an extreme amount. 001. Yeah, no, I think that's a result of the chain length not being correct. Like, the physics get evaluated before the chain assembly kind of happens. So if one part of the chain moves, then the collisions for all the ones underneath it will not be entirely correct. It's fine for when it moves like this, but for the super accurate stuff, it's a little not that great. If I did it as a post effect, how would that work? Let me try that. Let me bring this and plug it into here and see what happens. Anything? Absolutely nothing. Oh well. I do like the hair movement at the moment, so I think I'll keep this this demo for now. Because I like how flowy it looks. But I do have the other collider test, which as we can see is significantly more laggy than the other. Wait a second. Why do I have the feeling that I just wasn't calculating at all? Target geometry, yeah, that makes sense. Because the proximity was lagging. Ray direction. Yeah, the velocity needs to be the ray direction, and then the ray length. Then all that. I'll do another try to see if I can get it to work, but then we'll switch to the more exciting stuff later on. So that part still does its job as intended. I think I can chop out that for the time being. Let's plug that into here. Like, I don't expect it to be 100% correct, but I do expect it to be at least a little bit correct. At least to see the influence of it. So let me multiply the ray length by 2, just so that you can see everything a little, like... Yeah, no, it's just full on ignoring it. What am I doing wrong? Oh, no, the normal hit distance, the is hit. It's relative to the object. Yeah, that makes sense. Position and all of that. Position old, and then that's set to there. I don't know, let's set it so that the ray length is 100 meters, just to see if... Okay, we can see that, you know, something happens now. But yeah, it looks like that's because of... Yep. Let's disable... Nope, that's fine. So it is slowing down, so it is affecting it. Just not absolutely stopping it. Oh, I know why. That's because of this. The go back towards your original vector. That explains it. Okay. And yeah, let's turn back on the gravity. The correct gravity. Let me be a little bit more clear for the program. There we go. So here we can see the collision is working. Very accurately, as we can see. So I just need to re-implement the hair stiffness, and then we'll be doing a significant amount better than we were before. And it is interesting how the hair kind of floats up like this, which that's kind of to be expected. Okay, let me use the reflect, so that it'll bounce off. Like, I'm not sure if this will be a good idea, having the hair bounce off perfectly. Oops, maybe not like that. Yeah, no, freezing it is a good debugging method. But I need to make the original vectors do their thing. So how would I do that? Well, if I take the original position, then I compare that with the parent, but then I also get the vectors. So I need to do a few things to make this correct. I need to get the position of the parent, and then... Okay, doing it outside the node group is a bit of a bummer, but it's something I have to do. And we subtract that from the current position to get the vector to the wanted position. That's how that works. And now, if we add that into the equation, it will overshoot because, you know, the scale is way too high. There we go. It's trying, but I need to scale it down by a fair bit. It's not quite doing the mix factor, which is a little bit unfortunate. Actually, wait, I can just mix it. Mix. Let's do that. So this should mean... Yikes. Should mean, but it is not. So here we... Oh, wow. That's very interesting. How it's doing the chain thing for that. Let me switch this to just the current position. Huh. Interesting. Or, wait a second, I can subtract this from that, and then get... Ah. I need to compare it to the original vectors. That's a very interesting... So that's why it has to be done inside the node tree. All of this physics stuff should be done inside of it. Because even though that looks pretty, it's not accurate. It's nowhere near accurate. Like, all this is doing... Yeah, the physics for going back to its original position is being delayed every single frame. because the updated velocity gets recalculated every single frame. While in here, inside one of the steps, which happens per spline vertice, this happens for every single time. Which means that we get a much more accurate result, even though the gravity, again, is way too high. Case in point. So let me go and change up a few little things here. So one, Control J that. Let's do that, and let's try to have the collision happen in the next frame once again. Ah, so that completely invalidates it. Interesting, interesting. I think that may be due to... Yeah, no, that completely makes it not work. That does make sense, though. It's a little unfortunate, but it does make sense. So there we go. Oh, wait. I broke it again. It's supposed to be setting it to 0. Which part did I break? Grab. Oh wait, no, it's that part again. So there we go. That part is now working again. Still a little bit off, but set this to like 0.01. That it will still have a value. That the collisions still kind of happen. You can see it does go. That's why it all needs to be inside of the thing, inside of the node group for every single part of the chain. So here, this will be, yeah, more laggy because it's, like, it shouldn't be too laggy, but it is. Another very annoying thing with this. Yeah, okay. So let's undo it. Put this back to the good value. The good value. Yikes. Oh, right, that part. I do like how flowy the hair is right now. So, we do need to wait until we get proper loops for there to be some proper physics and all that. But I will keep that collider here, just to, you know, when that does become available in like 6 months or longer. We were very close to having that in this version of in 3.6, but unfortunately it did not make it, which I'm very, very saddened by. Would have been nice. Perfect thing to go right with simulation nodes, because those are a loop. Simulation nodes just loop over every single frame, while the other loops would operate on like every single vertice. It would be so nice. It's very essential for many physics effects. So, if I could have one thing in geometry nodes, it would be that. Okay. So with that lamenting out of the way, let me turn off timings and all of that. I like checking the timings because since I'm doing a node group 100 times for the hair, I need to check, oh, what is taking up the most amount of speed. Velocity. There we go. So let's save this. And now let me go over to the other test, because for now I've just been doing it on curves, which is a little bit of a limitation, as we can see here, if we want branching. So what if we didn't need curves? What if we just had a mesh? Well, the thing is, that should be very much possible. So, we need to label our start points. Or assign it, in this case. So here we just have that. I'm a little worried about the subdivision things, but maybe that won't be an issue for like blurring out the group. And then we get the shortest path node, shortest end paths, so that as the end vertex. Then we can store the parent index, because that's an essential part of this thing. ID parent, that's what I'm going to label this as, and plug this into here. Now we can plug this into this part. I need to label it accordingly. So now, oh wait, no, that's the next in line, not the previous in line. Oh wait, no. I may be completely wrong about how to get this to work properly. Oh no. Yeah, no, this is giving us the ID of the child, not the parent. That is a very big bummer. And that was something that I was... I was very hard-pressed to make this work. I could implement a version in the loop that may work. I may need to make a new loop in order to figure out where the parent is. Because I want the previous vertex index, not the next. Well, there went those plans in a snap. But I will try it. I'll try getting it to work anyway. So we go into here. Nope, not the loop. We need to go into here. And then we plug this into there. So, it works? Wait a second, did that actually work? I don't think so. Because the empty movement should be... Oh wait, no, that's because it's on the endpoint. Oh, huh. Well, I'll take it. I won't complain about... Oh, and I also need to use a greater than node. So that only affects the end vertice because of the... There we go. Ah, okay. Well, that's a little bit of an issue right there. Yikes. So why... Wait, why didn't work... Oh no, wait, it is not working whatsoever. That's just regular old, wibbly-wobbly physics. The proper chain length does not apply whatsoever. I mean, it does look cool. So how do I get the index of the previous? How would one go about doing that? Well, one thing I could do is try blurring an attribute. Actually, yeah, that might be a legitimate way to make that work. I'm thinking dangerous territory here. Let's see, if I use an accumulate field node, I may be able to... Let's think about it. Nope, the accumulate field will not work. More interesting math conundrums. If we had loops, I would be able to do this in a relative breeze. But I don't think I can do this even with my loop workaround. Because the thing is, I would have like a value on like some of the vertices. Here, let me apply the subdivision here. So that I don't need that that greater than node. There we go. So I would have like a blurred value across the entire thing. That would be highest here and then lowest all around there. So the way I would do that is I would just check, oh, is that vertice greater than this one. If not, then that one, get the index of that one. Yep. Or wait, there might be another way. Can I use an attribute statistic? No, that won't work either. I could use a... Nope. It is a real shame because it... Again, loops. Oh wait, do I have edge vertices? Edges of vertex. Oh, I may have a solution. I really hope so. Let's see, edge vertices. It may work. So if we evaluate on a domain, set this to edge or vertices. Let me try several things. Just to points. Ah, we can see that something is happening. Interesting. It's not going for all of them, but it's going for a few of them. I'll need to do like a visualizer for that. So, yes, it may be possible to do this. Like, especially with the edges of vertex. Yeah, no, okay, this is possible. Sort index. We can see it's trying. I just need to set the weights to be a blurred gradient. And then it'll work. Because we can see some of it's only working for about half of them. So if I were to take the group, then blur this by a ton, this should give us like the right sorting. Possibly. Sort index 1 or... Oh, I can only offset in the positive direction. E. Edge index. I'll have to figure that out. I'll save this for the time being. I will end the stream soon because it is 47 minutes into it. Let's see, what are you doing? The robot arm came out amazing, by the way. I am working on chain physics that is applicable for hair and the robot arm, which I am going to be implementing this on next. Because there is a lot of interesting stuff that I can do with that. Oh wait, I just realized something. I was so frustrated with, oh, how do we make it so that this value is, this value, we can access the pin value. We can access it outside the tree. I could store it as a named attribute. So this will be pin, yeah, that'll be that value. And then I'll just implement that into here. So hair physics, that is what I am working on. And hopefully, I can make it work extremely well. That's what, okay, good. Now we have, okay, that is significantly better. So now, if I do implement the physics to be inside the node group to make it accurate, I can access all the values like, oh, what's the dampening? How much gravity should I give it? How much should the collision work on it? Okay, so that means that's good. Completely forgot about it. That is why I do I do these live streams. So I keep talking about it and keep coming up with new ideas to do all this. Let me turn the pin down to something very low because I want to see the low gravity again. Let's see, no pin value. Let's do that. I do like that the hair does whip, because that is accurate. Like, the velocity still isn't 100% accurate, unfortunately. It's mostly accurate, but not 100%. Because I should be doing the recalculated velocity for every... Actually, wait, I could do that. I should be doing the recalculated velocity for every single point in the chain. Except only on the, you know, the the value that matters. That keeps it from being super laggy. Oh wait, that does give a different result. Oh, wow. So that may mean that... Yeah, so I should do... Oh, wait. That was a significant change. Oh, that's because none of the physics were implemented at that point. Okay. So there's that. That seems very similar. So let's check that to it being internal again. It's extremely similar. So just for the sake of my sanity, by not putting everything inside of the 100 node group, we'll just do it outside. Good enough. So the pin, let's set that to 0. It is interesting how... Yeah, I should, again, set the pin to be the parameter. And let's map range. Or what should I name that value? Because this is like the pin to the original position. So let's set that to like 0.25. And then maybe set this to like 0.01, just so that has a little bit of that value going for it. And then let's turn on the dampening to, again, give that like zero gravity or underwater feel to the hair. Let's set that to 0.5. And maybe set this to smoother step as well, just to give a better result. So there we go. That gives a much... Yeah, that gives the kind of underwater hair floating effect. But for that, I do need to implement like some general noise to the whole thing. Noise texture. I'm worried that this will cause it to lag because noise textures are notoriously expensive. But we'll see. 0.5, then we scale this down. So here will be the turbulence force. Yep, that is affecting the speed. So that's another thing that would benefit from it being inside the node tree for the 50th time. 0.05. Let's set that to like 0.5 just so that we can see that there's some forces moving. Maybe a little less dampening on there. A little too much dampening, if I'm being honest. Like here we can see... Actually, let's turn this up by a ton just to see how it works. So 1 meter. I just realized that this head is 4 meters tall. It's a little bit bigger for the, that's a bit too big. A bit too big. A little bigger than your average sized head. That's one thing with Blender. Like, the default cube is 2 meters, while you would assume that's 1. So here is a 1 meter, or around 3 foot cube. So this head is taller than your average human. 3 times over. So if let's just do a little eyeball here. So that would mean that it's probably about 30 meters tall. So that is a very tall human. Let's set that to like 0.15. Yeah, so I would have to implement like water physics in order for that to work. Which, you know, is beyond the scope of what I'm doing now. So for now, just making the, you know, the hair physics do hair physics stuff. It's fine with me. Let me set that to 0.5 just so that we get the general shape still working. Maybe 0.2. And then maybe 0.1 for the bottom part. And the gravity, let's implement that again. We're almost at 1 hour, everyone. So I will stop streaming fairly soon. Oh yeah, that feels like hair right there. Like maybe it's a little too wobbly even still. No. Hair does have springiness to it. Actually, hair has springiness not because it actually changes the length, but because of what I have implemented here. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, the springs would work. So actually, if I did want to implement like curly hair spring physics, that would actually be fairly easier to do than normal hair, funnily enough. Because I wouldn't need the chain constraints, and then in post I would just make the hair curly. So I could make the hair, the actual geometry of the hair, change length to get the kind of springiness feel. And then the curly hair would just appear normal, because that's like a post-displacement effect. So this is good for straight hair, but for curly hair, it's actually a lot easier to do that. Interesting. Oh, I should label this stiffness. Stiffness. Yeah, that's what we do. Stiffness. Let's put that into here. Stiffness. Yes, that is the correct word for that. So I could have it be different for all that, but I think 0.2. Actually, no. Having it more, like, a lot more accurate for the scalp is good. Because that means that the super obvious clipping is much less obvious. Maybe like 0.3. I'm just trying to see what feels right. It's very nice seeing a project finally, after hours and hours of trying to figure out the math, it finally being like, yes, I will work. Let's see. Hey Caramel, how's your week going? Much better now that I finally got the hair physics to actually work. It's amazing. I'm so happy I finally got it. Like, apologies for, you know, the animation here being super sudden. Like, maybe I can... Let's see, is that Beziered? I do like the animation being super sharp, because that means... Actually, what if I switched... What is the... It's elastic. Yeah, God, that is... Yeah, maybe I should just have elastic on the y-axis. Apologies, everyone. Let's see, circular. It is amazing seeing how the whip around effect does actually work. I am incredibly happy about that. And again, everyone, you could do, if I delete the animation, you could do the Rockstar hair whipping effect. That actually works because physics. I am so incredibly happy that I finally got it working. I can delete that. So the last thing I need to do is like the branch, like if I want to apply this to like trees, making that work out. Because let's see, I don't think there's a way to do like this style even with the cloth simulation. Because that even has some elasticity. I'll have to double check. Yeah, this repeated animation is getting on my nerves a little bit, but yeah, not a ton. I just need to make a better animation for it like going around. Which here, let me save it in its current state. Now let me implement a new animation. maybe a little bit slower and smoothened out. So here, it would be nice if I could get the collision working. Because even the Blender devs in the regular sculpt mode do not have collision working. At least in 3.5, I believe. Or maybe they did implement that. I forget. Apparently it's a difficult thing to do. That's my point. There we go. There's another one. I should probably make this animation, you know, a bit longer. But let's make that part bigger. Yeah, the hair physics are a bit floaty. Which I can fix because I have the pin parameter. So let me set that to like 0.4. Set that up to like 0.8. It does feel like, okay, there's a bit too much, I need to dampen it. Maybe not that much, because that just makes it feel... Springiness is still too high. That feels right in terms of, like, the springiness factor. Nah, okay, I'll deal with that later, but thank you all for watching. This project turned out quite well. I'm very happy with it. And of course, that's when the undo steps end. But thank you all for watching. This was a very good project. It turned out well. And I'll see you next time with hopefully more developments. I may switch to doing non-physics stuff for tomorrow's stream just because it's, you know, I've been overdoing the math by a bit. But until then, hair physics. And we can do underwater hair physics. And zero gravity hair physics. All with geometry nodes. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.